Have you ever trusted someone at work so deeply that you couldn't imagine they would ever hurt you? In every workplace, there are people we sit beside every day, people we laugh with, eat with, share moments with, people we slowly begin to rely on. But sometimes, the person who feels like your safest space is the same person holding the knife behind your back. This is the story of Clara, a warm-hearted, hard-working young woman who genuinely believed that kindness still meant something in the corporate world, and Jasmine, the colleague she trusted like a sister. Their friendship started beautifully, the type of bond that makes work feel lighter, makes lunch breaks feel shorter, makes long days feel bearable. But in the corporate world, loyalty can be fragile, and trust can become a weapon in the wrong hands. Clara shared her heart, her worries, her struggles, her most private pains, never imagining those words would one day be used against her. Because in some offices, kindness is taken as weakness, and closeness becomes an entry point for betrayal. Clara had no idea her greatest heartbreak would come from the person she ate with, rode home with, and called her closest friend. Her story is not just about gossip. It's about emotional wounds that don't heal quickly, and the courage it takes to finally walk away when a job begins to cost you your peace. Clara was a 27-year-old marketing executive with a calm, gentle presence and a quiet type of beauty. Her skin was a beautiful dark tone, and she always wore her sleek, straight black weave neatly behind her ears. She wasn't loud, she wasn't flashy, but she was warm, the type of person people immediately felt comfortable around. On her first day in the agency, she met Jasmine, a vibrant, stylish young woman with long black box braids and a bold, playful personality. Jasmine was the type of colleague who talked to everyone, laughed easily, and carried a level of confidence that made her stand out. She noticed Clara's reserved nature and took it upon herself to make her feel welcome. Soon, lunch breaks turned into inside jokes. Coffee breaks turned into heart-to-heart conversations, and rides home became their daily ritual. On weekends, they went shopping together, got their hair done, and even shared personal stories they hadn't told anyone else. Colleagues started referring to them as twins. Clara trusted Jasmine deeply with her financial worries, her relationship struggles, her frustrations at work, and her dreams for the future. And Jasmine listened with empathy, comforted her, gave her advice, and made her feel understood. But Clara never noticed the small red flags, like how Jasmine sometimes asked personal questions that felt a bit too detailed, or how she occasionally used Clara's insecurities to make sarcastic comments in a joking tone. Clara brushed it off, believing that closeness sometimes came with teasing. She had no idea Jasmine was slowly gathering information that would someday tear her down. It started small, too small to notice. One morning, Clara walked past a few colleagues and noticed them stop talking abruptly. They exchanged glances, then looked away. She brushed it off. Maybe it had nothing to do with her. But the second incident came the next week, when she overheard colleagues discussing a sensitive issue from her private life, something only Jasmine knew. Clara froze. Her heart pounded. Her palms grew sweaty. She tried to convince herself that maybe Jasmine had not meant harm. Maybe she had mentioned it innocently. But gossip spreads like wildfire, and every new version was worse than the last. Her colleagues now whispered whenever she entered the cafeteria. People glanced at her phone when it rang during break. Some co-workers avoided sitting near her. The humiliation stung. Clara decided to quietly investigate where it all started. She asked one colleague who told them. Then that colleague revealed another person, and the trail eventually led back to one person, Jasmine. The betrayal hit her like a punch to the chest. This wasn't a stranger. This wasn't an office gossip. This was her friend, her confidant, her sister. Yet Jasmine still acted normal, still laughed with her, still invited her to lunch, still sat beside her during meetings as if nothing had happened. Clara felt confused, hurt, and deeply alone. As the situation grew worse, Clara's confidence began to crumble. Colleagues gave her strange looks. Some avoided eye contact, others treated her with pity, and a few treated her with disrespect, as if the rumours defined her worth. Her productivity dropped, not because she lacked skill, but because she was emotionally exhausted. Her relationships suffered too. Her boyfriend questioned her endlessly, details he shouldn't have known, yet somehow had heard from a friend of a friend. Clara cried almost every night, hiding her pain so no one at work would notice. She pretended to be okay while her heart broke silently. Then something happened that finally pushed her over the edge. Her manager pulled her aside and mentioned that some colleagues felt she had become too distracted and too involved in personal drama. Clara was shocked. She had never brought personal issues into work. Other people had. But somehow, she was the one being labelled unprofessional. Then came the final blow. She mistakenly discovered a group chat where a few co-workers discussed her personal struggles as if they were entertainment. Not just the gossip Jasmine spread, but a brand new rumour suggesting she lied about some parts of her life to get sympathy. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was character assassination. Clara felt broken, like she was drowning in a place she once thrived. Clara tried to push through, focusing on the one thing she could still control, her work. And for a while, that became her escape. The only place she still felt useful, until the agency began working on a high-profile campaign for one of their biggest clients. Clara was assigned a major part of it, concept outlines, consumer insight notes, and initial design direction. She poured her heart into it, stayed late, double-checked everything, made sure every detail was correct. 3 days before the final presentation, her manager sent a furious email. "Why did you submit the wrong campaign files? The client is disappointed. Explain immediately." Clara felt her chest tighten. She hadn't submitted anything. She rushed to check the email thread. And there it was. An email sent from her official work address, with outdated designs, incorrect pricing tables, and incomplete research attachments. Files she had never touched. She panicked, checked her sent folder. The email was there, time-stamped at 11:52 p.m., a time when she was already at home. Someone had accessed her system, or left her account open, or deliberately used her login while she wasn't around. Her manager didn't want to hear explanations. He simply said, "This is unacceptable. You've been unfocused for weeks. Now it's affecting client work." Clara walked out of the meeting shaking, tears filling her eyes. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was sabotage, professional sabotage, the kind that stains your career permanently. She sat in the restroom for nearly 15 minutes, crying silently into her palms as everything inside her collapsed. That night, she prayed, Deeply, honestly, painfully, she asked God for clarity and strength, and for the first time in months, she felt peace instead of fear, a knowing, a whisper in her spirit, "You have to leave." The next morning, with trembling hands but a steady heart, she typed her resignation letter. When she submitted it, her manager stared in shock. Jasmine widened her eyes, pretending to be confused, but Clara said nothing. She didn't need to justify her exit. She needed peace, and peace was not in that building. She walked out with dignity, something no sabotage could take away from her. Quitting didn't magically fix everything. Clara still cried some nights, still replayed the betrayal in her mind, still felt the sting of humiliation. But slowly, very slowly, the pain began to loosen its grip. She rested, she prayed, she journaled, she healed. She understood that leaving wasn't failure, it was self-respect. She didn't rush into another job. Instead, she rebuilt herself from the inside out. Clara's story teaches powerful, painful, necessary lessons. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Not every colleague deserves access to your private life. Workplaces are unpredictable, and sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who know your secrets. Your peace is priceless. Your mental health is not optional, and no job is worth losing yourself for. When a workplace becomes toxic, you are not obligated to stay because jobs are hard to find. Staying where you are breaking is far more dangerous than starting over. Healing begins the moment you choose yourself. And like Clara, you too can walk away and rise again.